Captain Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of the UNS Valiant and watched the stars through the main screen. The ship had been traveling for 6 months beyond the edge of human space. This was the farthest any human vessel had ever gone from Earth. The mission was simple: explore new worlds and search for signs of alien life. Lisa Morgan sat at her communication station and monitored the radio frequencies. She had been doing this job for 3 years but had never heard anything except the usual background noise of space. Today felt different somehow. The instruments were picking up strange signals from a nearby star system. "Captain, I'm getting something unusual," Lisa said as she adjusted her headset. "There's a pattern in the signals that doesn't match any natural phenomena." Jake walked over to her station and looked at the data scrolling across her screen. The signals were definitely artificial. They showed mathematical sequences that no star or planet could produce naturally. This was exactly what they had been hoping to find. "Can you decode it?" Jake asked. "I'm trying, sir. The pattern is complex, but it looks like they're using basic mathematics as a foundation. Prime numbers, geometric sequences, that sort of thing." Dr. Nathan Cole came onto the bridge from his laboratory. He was the ship's xenobiologist and had spent his entire career studying the possibility of alien life. When he heard about the signals, he rushed to see the data for himself. "This is incredible," Nathan said as he studied Lisa's screens. "Look at these patterns. They're not just mathematical. They're teaching patterns. Someone is trying to communicate with us." Jake felt his heart racing. After decades of searching, humanity had finally found proof that they were not alone in the universe. He activated the ship's intercom to alert the entire crew. "All hands, this is the captain. We have detected artificial signals from an alien source. This is not a drill. We are now in first contact protocol." Dr. Amy Walsh arrived on the bridge within minutes. She was the ship's linguist and had studied every known human language as well as theoretical alien communication methods. She immediately began working with Lisa to decode the incoming signals. "They're using images along with the mathematics," Amy said as she pulled up visual data on her screen. "Look at this. They're showing us pictures of stars, planets, and what appears to be their solar system. The images were simple but clear. They showed a star with multiple planets orbiting around it. One planet was highlighted with special symbols that seemed to indicate it was inhabited. Other images showed basic geometric shapes and what looked like peaceful symbols. They're trying to tell us where they come from," Nathan said. "And look at these other images. These appear to be symbols of peace and friendship." Jake ordered the communications team to prepare a response. Following first contact protocol, they would send back similar mathematical sequences and images to show that humans understood the message and wanted to communicate. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Admiral Richard Stone received the news through the quantum communication link. He was the head of Space Fleet operations and had been waiting for this moment his entire career. The discovery of alien life would change everything for humanity. Admiral Stone immediately called an emergency meeting with the government leaders. Defense Secretary Paul Grant and General Frank Miller were among the first to arrive at the secure briefing room. When they heard about the alien contact, their reactions were very different from the celebration happening on the Valiant. "We need to assume they are hostile," General Miller said. "Any species that can send signals across interstellar space has technology far beyond ours. They could be a threat to Earth." Defense Secretary Grant agreed. "We should treat this as a potential invasion. We need to prepare our defenses and consider preemptive action." Admiral Stone tried to remain calm. "Let's not jump to conclusions. The signals appear peaceful. We should give diplomacy a chance." But Grant and Miller had already made up their minds. They began discussing military options and how to protect Earth from this potential alien threat. They saw the aliens as enemies before any real communication had even taken place. Back on the Valiant, Amy and Lisa continued working to decode more of the alien messages. The signals were becoming more complex and detailed. The aliens were sharing information about their technology, their culture, and their desire for peaceful contact. They call themselves the Zalani, Amy said as she worked through the linguistic patterns. And they're not just one species. These messages indicate they represent 12 different alien species working together. Nathan was amazed by this revelation. A peaceful alliance of multiple species. This suggests they have moved beyond warfare and competition. The Zalani continued sending messages throughout the day. They shared star charts showing safe travel routes through space. They sent mathematical formulas that appeared to describe advanced energy sources. Most importantly, they sent repeated symbols that clearly meant peace and friendship. Jake made the decision to send a detailed response. The humans shared basic information about Earth, their solar system, and their desire to learn more about the Zalani. They included images of human cities, art, and music to show their culture. The response from the Zalani came quickly. They were excited to have made contact with humans and wanted to arrange a meeting. They suggested that human representatives could visit their homeworld to establish formal diplomatic relations. When Admiral Stone heard about the invitation, he saw an opportunity. While the aliens seemed peaceful, this could be a chance to learn about their technology and defenses. He began making plans to send both diplomatic and military personnel to make contact with the Zalani. "We'll send Ambassador Helen Brooks to handle the diplomatic side," Stone told his staff. "But we'll also need intelligence officers to assess their capabilities." Dr. Cole was selected to join the diplomatic mission as the science representative. He was thrilled at the chance to study alien life forms firsthand. Amy Walsh would also go as the linguistic expert to help with communication. But Stone also made secret plans to send military observers who would study Zalani technology and defenses. He told himself this was just a precaution, but Grant and Miller were already pushing for more aggressive action. The Valiant received orders to continue monitoring the alien signals while a larger diplomatic mission was prepared on Earth. Jake felt proud that his ship had made the most important discovery in human history. He had no idea that some people back home were already planning for war instead of peace. As the first day of contact ended, the crew of the Valiant watched the stars with new eyes. Somewhere out there, intelligent beings were looking back at them with friendship and hope. The universe had suddenly become a much larger and more wonderful place. Lisa continued monitoring the communications as more Zalani messages arrived through the night. Each transmission brought new knowledge and stronger evidence that these aliens truly wanted peace with humanity. They shared poetry, music, and art that showed the beauty of their civilization. Nathan spent hours studying the biological information the Zalani had shared. Their species had evolved on worlds very different from Earth, but they had all learned to live together without violence. This gave him hope that humans could do the same. The message was clear. The aliens wanted peace, but humanity's response would determine the future of both species. 3 months after first contact, the UNS Aurora departed from Earth carrying humanity's first diplomatic mission to an alien world. Ambassador Helen Brooks stood in her quarters, looking out at the stars as the ship traveled toward the Zalani, homeworld. She felt the weight of representing all humanity in these historic negotiations. Dr. Nathan Cole was excited to finally meet the Zalani in person. The biological data they had shared showed fascinating adaptations to their world's unique environment. Their planet had lower gravity than Earth and a different atmospheric composition, but the Zilani had evolved in ways that seemed almost perfectly designed for peace. Dr. Amy Walsh spent her time studying the latest Zilani language transmissions. She had made remarkable progress in understanding their communication methods. The Zilani used not just words but also colors and musical tones to convey meaning. Their language seemed to have no words for concepts like war, murder, or hatred. The Aurora was officially a civilian diplomatic vessel, but Ambassador Brooks knew that military observers were secretly aboard. Admiral Stone had insisted on sending intelligence officers to gather information about Zilani capabilities and defenses. Brooks hoped their presence would remain hidden from the aliens. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was one of these hidden military observers. He worked in the ship's engineering section, but his real job was to study Zilani technology. His equipment could analyze their ship's weapons and defensive systems without the aliens knowing they were being watched. Intelligence Officer Kate Roberts posed as a cultural attaché. She was actually gathering data about Zilani society, government structure, and potential weaknesses. Her job was to find ways that human forces could exploit if peaceful contact failed. When the Aurora arrived at the Zilani homeworld, Brooks was amazed by what she saw. The planet was covered in floating cities that drifted among the clouds. These cities were connected by bridges of light that seemed to be made of pure energy. The technology was far beyond anything humans had achieved. The Zilani High Counselor greeted the human delegation personally. He was a tall, graceful being with blue-green skin and large, intelligent eyes. When he spoke, his voice had a musical quality that made even simple words sound like poetry. "Welcome, friends from Earth," the High Counselor said through the translation. "Devices. We have waited so long to meet you. Our scientists have watched your world from afar and admired your species' creativity and determination." Brooks was impressed by the Zilani's genuine warmth and hospitality. They offered the humans comfortable quarters in one of their floating cities and provided everything needed for the diplomatic meetings. The aliens seemed truly excited to have human visitors. Dr. Cole was given access to their biological research centers. The Zilani scientists shared information about their evolutionary history and how their species had developed. They explained that their world had once known violence and war, but they had learned to live in peace over 1,000 years ago. "We studied our own history and decided that cooperation was better than conflict," one Zilani scientist explained. "We built our civilization on the idea that all life is precious and should be protected." The Zilani medical technology was incredibly advanced. They had eliminated disease, extended their natural lifespan, and could heal injuries that would be fatal to humans. When Dr. Cole showed them human medical data, they immediately offered to share their healing technology. Amy Walsh worked with Zilani linguists to improve communication between the species. The aliens were eager to learn human languages and shared their own cultural expressions. They showed her art forms that used light and sound in ways that created entirely new sensory experiences. Meanwhile, Steve Parker secretly scanned the Zilani defenses. His instruments detected very little military technology. The floating cities had energy shields, but these appeared to be designed for protection against natural disasters rather than warfare. The Zilani had no warships, no weapons platforms, and no military installations. Kate Roberts gathered intelligence about Zilani society and government. She discovered that their civilization was completely transparent. all decisions were made through open councils where every citizen could participate. They had no secret police, no hidden military forces, and no classified information about weapons. The High Counselor offered to share the Zilani's most advanced technologies with humanity. They showed Brooks their clean fusion reactors that could provide unlimited energy without pollution. They demonstrated their faster-than-light communication systems that could send messages across the galaxy instantly. We believe that knowledge should be shared freely among all intelligent species, the High Counselor explained. When we work together, we can achieve things that no single species could accomplish alone. But the most amazing offer came when the Zilani shared their star charts. They had explored much of the galaxy and discovered dozens of habitable worlds. They offered to guide human colonists to these planets and help them establish new settlements. Brooks sent regular reports back to Earth describing the Zilani's generous offers and peaceful nature. She recommended immediate acceptance of their proposals for technological exchange and colonization assistance. The benefits to humanity would be enormous. However, her reports were intercepted by military censors before reaching the general public. Admiral Stone, Defense Secretary Grant, and General Miller read every word but interpreted the information very differently than Brooks intended. They're trying to make us dependent on their technology, General Miller argued during a classified briefing. Once we rely on their systems, they could shut them down and leave us helpless. Grant agreed completely. This is clearly a sophisticated infiltration strategy. They want us to lower our defenses before they strike. Admiral Stone was torn between the diplomatic and military perspectives. The Zilani seemed genuinely peaceful, but his military training made him cautious about trusting any potential enemy. He decided to continue both diplomatic contact and military preparation. While Brooks negotiated with the Zilani, Stone secretly ordered the construction of a massive battle fleet. Using data gathered by Parker and Roberts, human engineers began designing weapons specifically intended to counter Zilani shields and technology. Colonel Dan Murphy arrived at the Zilani homeworld aboard a supply ship, officially bringing additional diplomatic support. In reality, he commanded a team of Special Forces operatives who were preparing for a possible military strike against the alien world. The Zilani remained completely unaware of these military preparations. They continued treating the humans as honored guests and potential partners. They shared their greatest treasures, including the locations of their sacred worlds where their civilization had first begun. Dr. Cole became increasingly uncomfortable with the deception. He could see that the Zilani were genuinely peaceful and meant no harm to humanity. When he tried to contact Admiral Stone to express his concerns, military censors blocked his communications. Amy Walsh also began to suspect that something was wrong. The Zilani repeatedly asked about human military capabilities, not because they wanted to assess threats, but because they hoped to help humanity move beyond warfare as they had done. Brooks found herself in an impossible position. She believed the Zilani were sincere in their peaceful intentions, but her orders required her to gather intelligence while maintaining the diplomatic cover. She worried that humanity was making a terrible mistake. The Zilani High Counselor made one final offer that would change everything. He invited human leaders to visit the Zilani's most sacred world, where they kept the historical records of their transformation from a warlike species to a peaceful civilization. "We want to share our greatest lesson with you," the High Counselor said. "We learned that the choice between war and peace determines the future of any species. We hope humans will choose as we did." But back on Earth, Admiral Stone was receiving very different advice. The military leaders had already decided that the Zilani represented an existential threat that must be eliminated before they could strike first. The stage was set for a betrayal that would shock the galaxy. Back on Earth, Admiral Stone walked through the massive shipyards where humanity's largest battle fleet was taking shape. Hundreds of warships were being built in secret facilities hidden throughout the solar system. The scale of construction was unlike anything in human history. President Betty Clark had been convinced that the alien threat required immediate action. Defense Secretary Grant and General Miller had presented her with classified reports suggesting that the Zilani's peaceful behavior was merely a cover for invasion plans. The evidence was fabricated, but it was convincing enough to secure unlimited military funding. The aliens have technology centuries ahead of ours, General Miller explained during a classified briefing. If we wait for them to make the first move, humanity will be defenseless. We need to strike before they can establish military bases in our solar system. Commander Ryan Foster led the weapons development program at the secret military research facility on Mars. His team was working around the clock to create weapons systems specifically designed to penetrate Zilani shields and defenses. They used stolen alien technology obtained through the diplomatic exchanges to build humanity's most advanced weapons. The new human warships were equipped with quantum torpedoes that could bypass energy shields, plasma cannons capable of destroying entire cities, and stealth systems that made them invisible to Zilani sensors. Each ship carried enough firepower to devastate a planet. Dr. Nathan Cole had returned to Earth and was horrified to discover what the military was planning. He tried to speak out against the weapons program but was immediately arrested and placed under house arrest. His warnings about Zilani peaceful intentions were dismissed as alien propaganda. The aliens have obviously brainwashed him, Grant told the military committee. His judgment can no longer be trusted. We cannot allow him to compromise our defensive preparations. Cole spent his days under guard in a secure facility, desperately trying to find a way to warn Ambassador Brooks about what was happening. Every communication attempt was blocked by military censors who monitored all messages to and from the diplomatic mission. Meanwhile, the Zilani continued their generous sharing of technology and knowledge. They had no idea that humans were using their gifts to build weapons for war. The aliens believed they were helping humanity advance toward a more peaceful and prosperous future. Admiral Stone struggled with doubts about the military buildup. The evidence from Ambassador Brooks and the science team clearly showed that the Zilani were peaceful, but the pressure from Grant and Miller was enormous. They convinced him that the survival of humanity depended on eliminating the alien threat. "We cannot afford to be wrong about this," Stone told himself as he authorized the deployment of the first battle groups. If the aliens are hiding their true intentions, waiting could doom our entire species. Captain Jake Harrison received new orders to position the Valiant and other exploration vessels throughout Zilani space. Officially, these ships were conducting scientific surveys, but their real purpose was to map strategic targets for the coming attack. Lieutenant Steve Parker continued gathering intelligence about Zilani defenses from his position within the diplomatic mission. His reports confirmed that the aliens had virtually no military capabilities. Their entire civilization was built around peaceful cooperation rather than warfare. They have defensive shields around their cities but no weapons platforms, Parker reported in an encrypted message. Their fleet consists entirely of exploration and transport vessels. I have detected no military installations anywhere in their territory. This information should have been reassuring, but General Miller interpreted it as evidence of alien deception. "They're obviously hiding their real military forces," he argued. No advanced civilization could survive without weapons. They must have secret bases we haven't discovered yet. Intelligence Officer Kate Roberts discovered something that changed everything. While studying Zilani historical records, she found documentation of their transformation from a warlike species to a peaceful one. The aliens had actually fought devastating wars in their past, but had chosen to abandon violence after nearly destroying themselves. Their peace isn't a deception, Roberts reported. They genuinely evolved beyond warfare because they learned it leads only to destruction. They're trying to help us avoid the same mistakes they made. But her report was classified and hidden from the diplomatic team. Grant and Miller ordered her to focus on finding military weaknesses rather than studying alien history. They had no interest in evidence that contradicted their predetermined conclusions about alien hostility. The Zilani High Counselor made repeated attempts to arrange meetings between human and Zilani leaders. He wanted to establish formal treaties and begin the process of technological exchange. The aliens were eager to welcome humanity into their peaceful alliance of species. "We have so much to offer each other," the High Counselor told Ambassador Brooks. "Together, we could explore the galaxy and bring peace to worlds still struggling with conflict. This could be the beginning of a new age of cooperation." Brooks forwarded these proposals to Earth, but they were rejected by the military leadership. Stone was told that any formal treaties would give the aliens legal justification for establishing bases in human space. The peaceful offers were twisted into evidence of hostile intentions. Dr. Amy Walsh began to suspect that something was terribly wrong. The Zilani repeatedly asked about human military activities, not because they were planning attacks, but because they were confused by humanity's aggressive preparations. They could not understand why humans were building weapons while claiming to want peace. "Your people seem frightened of us," the High Counselor said to Walsh during one of their meetings. "We have done everything possible to demonstrate our peaceful intentions. Why do humans continue to prepare for war?" Walsh had no answer because she was not aware of the military buildup. The diplomatic team was being kept in the dark about humanity's true intentions. They believed they were working toward peace while secretly gathering information for war. Colonel Murphy's Special Forces team began infiltrating Zilani cities to plant surveillance devices and identify high-value targets. The aliens' complete trust made this easy, as they allowed human visitors to go anywhere without restriction or security checks. The human war fleet grew larger every day. Ships arrived from every human colony and military base to join the massive armada. Admiral Stone had assembled over 500 warships, the largest military force in human history. The fleet was positioned throughout human space, ready to jump into Zilani territory on his command. Commander Foster completed development of the final weapon systems. The new human arsenal included planet-killer missiles, orbital bombardment, platforms, and biological weapons designed to eliminate Zilani life forms. The military was prepared for total warfare against a completely peaceful civilization. Dr. Cole finally managed to send a desperate message to the diplomatic mission by smuggling it through a sympathetic guard. His warning reached Amy Walsh just as she was beginning to understand the terrible truth about humanity's intentions. "They're planning to attack," Cole's message read. "The military has built a massive fleet to destroy the Zilani. You have to warn them before it's too late." But it was already too late. Admiral Stone had received final authorization from President Clark to begin the operation. The human battle fleet was moving into position around every major Zilani world. The attack would begin within hours. The Zilani detected the approaching human ships, but still believed they were diplomatic vessels coming to establish formal relations. They prepared welcoming ceremonies and gathered their greatest treasures to share with their new human friends. Ambassador Brooks realized with horror that humanity was about to commit the greatest act of betrayal in galactic history. She tried to contact Admiral Stone to stop the attack, but military censors had cut all communications from the diplomatic mission. The war machine that humanity had built was now beyond anyone's control, moving toward a peaceful civilization that had offered nothing but friendship and hope for a better future. The human battle fleet emerged from hyperspace around 12 Zalani worlds simultaneously. Over 500 warships took position in perfect attack formation, their weapons trained on the peaceful alien cities below. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UNS Dominion, watching as his fleet prepared for the largest military operation in human history. Captain Jake Harrison stared at his tactical display aboard the Valiant. His ship was positioned above the Zalani, home world, close enough to see the beautiful floating cities drifting among the clouds. The aliens had no idea what was about to happen. Their defensive shields were down, their people going about their daily lives in complete trust. "All ships report ready for Operation Sovereign Dawn," Admiral Stone announced across the fleet communication channel. "Target verification is complete. We are authorized to proceed with total elimination of the alien threat." But something was wrong with this picture. Harrison had spent months studying the Zalani, and everything he had learned contradicted the ABED, military's assessment. These beings had shown nothing but kindness and generosity toward humanity. They had shared their technology, their culture, and their friendship without asking for anything in return. Communications Officer Lisa Morgan looked up from her station with confusion and growing horror. "Captain, I'm receiving transmission from the Zalani. They're welcoming our fleet and asking if we need assistance with landing procedures." Even now, with hundreds of human warships surrounding their worlds, the Zalani still believed this was a peaceful, diplomatic mission. Their innocence was heartbreaking and terrifying at the same time. Dr. Amy Walsh had managed to escape from the diplomatic compound where Colonel Murphy's forces had placed her under arrest. She was broadcasting warnings to any human ship that would listen, desperately trying to prevent the massacre that was about to begin. "The Zalani are peaceful," Walsh transmitted on emergency frequencies. "They have no weapons, no military forces, no hostile intentions. This is genocide, not defense. We are about to murder an entire civilization that wanted nothing but friendship." Her messages reached many ships in the fleet, including the Valiant. Harrison felt sick as he realized the full scope of what was happening. The military leadership had manipulated everyone, using fear and deception to justify an unprovoked attack against defenseless aliens. Commander Ryan Foster aboard the weapons development ship UNS Anvil was having similar doubts. His team had created the most destructive weapons in human history, but they had been told these weapons would protect Earth from alien invasion. Now he could see that the aliens had no weapons to threaten anyone. "Sir, are we certain about the intelligence reports?" Foster asked Admiral Stone over the command channel. "The Zalani cities show no military installations or defensive weapons. They appear to be completely civilian targets." Stone's response was cold and final. "Your job is to follow orders, Commander, not to question intelligence assessments. The alien deception is more sophisticated than we expected, but that makes them even more dangerous." But Dr. Nathan Cole had finally escaped from his house arrest on Earth. Using his security clearance, he accessed the military communication network and began broadcasting the truth about the Zalani to the entire fleet. His message contained biological and cultural data proving that the aliens were genuinely peaceful. I have studied these beings for months. Cole's voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. They evolved beyond warfare over 1,000 years ago. Their society has no concept of military aggression. They are offering us the greatest gift possible, the chance to join a peaceful galactic community. The message caused chaos throughout the human fleet. Many captains and crew members began questioning their orders as they realized they were about to participate in the extermination of innocent beings. Some ships started powering down their weapon systems. Admiral Stone was furious. He ordered all communications cut except for command channels, but it was too late. The truth was spreading through the fleet faster than he could contain it. His carefully planned operation was falling apart. On the Zalani homeworld, the High Counselor detected the massive human fleet and still tried to maintain peaceful contact. He broadcast a message to Admiral Stone, speaking directly to the human commander with dignity and hope. Admiral Stone, we welcome your fleet to our world. We understand that humans must be cautious about new relationships, but we assure you that we mean no harm to your people. We hope this meeting will mark the beginning of a lasting friendship between our species. The alien leader's words reached every ship in the human fleet. Here was a being facing hundreds of warships, with weapons aimed at his people, and he was still offering friendship and understanding. The contrast between his peaceful response and humanity's aggressive actions was stark and undeniable. Lieutenant. Commander Steve Parker, still aboard the diplomatic vessel Aurora, had access to all the intelligence data he had gathered. He began transmitting detailed reports showing that the Zalani had no military capabilities whatsoever. Their technology was advanced but entirely focused on peaceful purposes. The Zalani fleet consists of exploration vessels, medical ships, and transport craft. Parker broadcast to the human fleet. They have no warships, no weapons platforms, no military infrastructure. This is not a hidden invasion force. It's a peaceful civilization. Captain Harrison made his decision. He activated the ship-wide intercom aboard the Valiant and addressed his crew directly. We are not here to defend humanity from invasion. We are here to commit murder against innocent beings who offered us friendship. I will not be part of this atrocity. He ordered his weapons officer to power down all weapon systems and raise defensive shields. The Valiant would not participate in the attack against the Zalani. Several other ships in his battle group followed his example, creating a growing rebellion within the human fleet. Admiral Stone realized he was losing control of the operation. Too many ships were refusing orders. Too many crew members were questioning the mission. He made a fateful decision that would damn him forever in the eyes of history. All loyal ships, commence bombardment immediately, Stone ordered. Any human vessel that refuses to engage is to be considered mutinous and destroyed along with the alien targets. The order to fire on both aliens and rebellious humans crossed every line of military ethics and human decency. Stone had become so obsessed with eliminating the perceived alien threat that he was willing to kill his own people to achieve his goal. Some ships obeyed the order. Quantum torpedoes and plasma beams lanced down toward the Zalani cities, killing thousands of innocent beings in the first few seconds of the attack. The beautiful floating cities began to fall from the sky, their energy systems overloaded by human weapons. But other ships, led by Captain Harrison, turned their guns on Admiral Stone's flagship instead. The human fleet dissolved into chaos as former allies began fighting each other above the burning Zalani homeworld. Dr. Amy Walsh managed to reach a Zalani communication center and sent a desperate message throughout the galaxy. Her transmission included all the evidence of human deception and the unprovoked attack against the peaceful Zilani civilization. "This is Dr. Amy Walsh of Earth," she broadcast to every species within range. "Humanity has betrayed the trust of the Zilani and is committing genocide against a peaceful civilization. We are not all monsters, but our leaders have chosen the path of destruction over cooperation." The message reached dozens of other alien civilizations throughout the galaxy. For the first time, they learned about humanity's existence, and their first action was an unprovoked attack against the galaxy's most peaceful species. Commander Foster made his own choice in that moment. He turned the weapon systems of the UNS Anvil against Admiral Stone's command ship, targeting the bridge where the order for genocide had originated. His plasma cannons tore through the Dominion's shields, critically damaging the flagship. President Betty Clark, watching the operation from Earth, finally realized the magnitude of what she had authorized. The military leaders had manipulated her into approving mass murder, using her fear to justify their own aggressive agenda. She immediately ordered a ceasefire, but the damage was already done. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had announced its presence by committing the greatest atrocity in galactic history, destroying the very beings who had offered them hope for a peaceful future. The space above the Zilani homeworld had become a battlefield where humanity fought against itself. Captain Jake Harrison's rebel ships engaged Admiral Stone's loyalist forces in desperate combat, while burning Zilani cities fell toward the planet's surface below. The beautiful floating metropolises that had taken centuries to build were being destroyed in minutes. Admiral Stone's flagship, the UNS Dominion, was badly damaged from Commander Foster's attack, but Stone refused to surrender. From his burning bridge, he continued ordering his remaining loyal ships to complete the extermination of the Zilani civilization. His obsession with eliminating the alien threat had driven him beyond reason. "Continue the bombardment," Stone commanded through emergency communications. "The aliens must be completely eliminated, or they will return to destroy Earth. We cannot show mercy to our enemies." But the Zilani were not enemies, and they proved it in the most remarkable way possible. As human weapons rained down on their cities, killing millions of innocent beings, the surviving Zilani activated ancient defense systems they had hoped never to use again. However, these defenses were not designed for retaliation. Massive energy shields erupted around the remaining Zilani worlds, protecting the survivors from further human attacks. At the same time, powerful transmitters sent a distress signal across the entire galaxy, calling for help from other peaceful civilizations. The Zilani's response to genocide was not revenge, but a plea for rescue. Dr. Nathan Cole's voice reached the human fleet from Earth, broadcasting evidence that exposed the entire conspiracy. His transmission included recorded conversations between General Miller and Defense Secretary Grant, proving they had planned this genocide from the moment of first contact. "The military leadership lied to everyone," Cole's message revealed. "They fabricated evidence of alien hostility and manipulated President Clark into authorizing this attack. The Zilani never posed any threat to humanity. This is murder, not defense." Captain Harrison coordinated the rebel human ships, trying to prevent further attacks on Zilani worlds while fighting off Stone's loyalist forces. His ship, the Valiant, had taken heavy damage but continued defending the alien civilians below. "All ships that still have honor, join us," Harrison broadcast on open frequencies. "We cannot allow this genocide to continue. Future generations will judge us by what we do in this moment." More human ships joined the rebellion as the truth spread through the fleet. Entire battle groups turned against Admiral Stone's command, refusing to participate in the massacre of innocent beings. The human fleet was tearing itself apart over the question of whether to commit genocide. Dr. Amy Walsh had reached a Zalani evacuation center where thousands of refugees were fleeing the burning cities. She worked alongside alien medical personnel to treat the wounded, both human and Zalani. The aliens continued helping injured humans even as other humans were killing their people. "Why are you helping us?" Walsh asked a Zalani doctor who was treating a wounded human pilot. "We came here to destroy you." The alien looked at her with large, sad eyes that still held compassion despite the horror surrounding them. "Because all life is precious," the doctor replied. "Your people are suffering from fear and anger, but that does not make you evil. We must help those who can be saved." The Zalani's response to humanity's attack revealed the true difference between the two civilizations. When faced with destruction, the aliens chose compassion over revenge, mercy over justice. They proved their peaceful nature even as they died. Ambassador. Helen Brooks had escaped from Colonel Murphy's custody and was broadcasting the truth about the diplomatic mission. Her reports described months of Zalani generosity and friendship, contrasting sharply with the military's claims about alien hostility. "They shared everything with us," Brooks transmitted to the human fleet. "Their technology, their culture, their sacred sites. They trusted us completely, and we have betrayed that trust in the most horrible way possible." Commander Foster's weapons research ship had become a key part of the rebellion. He used his advanced weapon systems to protect Zalani evacuation ships as they tried to escape the burning worlds. His crew, the same people who had built humanity's most destructive weapons, now used those weapons to save alien lives. The battle above the Zalani homeworld reached its climax when Admiral Stone ordered his remaining ships to ram the Zalani shield generators. He was determined to complete the genocide, even if it meant sacrificing his own forces. His hatred had consumed all reason and humanity. Several loyalist ships followed Stone's suicidal order, crashing into the Zalani defensive shields in massive explosions. The shields held, but the attacks killed hundreds more humans and aliens alike. Stone had become a madman willing to destroy everything to achieve his genocidal goals. President Clark, watching the horror unfold from Earth, finally took decisive action. She relieved Admiral Stone of command and ordered an immediate ceasefire. But her authority meant nothing to Stone and his most fanatical followers, who had gone rogue and continued their attacks. Admiral Stone and his forces are now considered criminals and traitors, Clark announced to the galaxy. They do not represent humanity or Earth government policy. Any ship that continues attacking peaceful beings will be hunted down and destroyed. But it was too late to save humanity's reputation. The galaxy had witnessed humans' first action as a spacefaring species, and that action was unprovoked genocide against peaceful beings. The damage to humanity's standing could never be undone. The Zalani's distress signal reached other alien civilizations throughout the galaxy. Advanced species that had been watching humanity with interest now saw them as a dangerous threat that needed to be contained. The peaceful galactic community began preparing defenses against human expansion. Captain Harrison's rebels managed to destroy Admiral Stone's flagship, but Stone escaped in a shuttle with his most loyal followers. They disappeared into deep space, vowing to continue their war against all alien life. Humanity had been split into two factions, those who chose peace and those who embraced destruction. The final count was devastating. 3 Zalani worlds had been partially destroyed, with over 50 million aliens killed in the unprovoked attack. Hundreds of human ships were destroyed in the civil war that followed. The beautiful civilization that had offered friendship to humanity lay in ruins. Dr. Cole arrived at the Zalani homeworld aboard a rescue ship from Earth. He found Amy Walsh and Nathan working in the refugee camps, trying to help the survivors. The aliens they were treating showed no hatred toward humans, only sadness at the violence that had torn apart their peaceful worlds. "We failed them," Cole said as he looked at the burning cities. "They offered us everything, and we responded with murder." The Zalani High Counselor had survived the attack, though his floating palace had been destroyed. When he met with the human rebels who had tried to protect his people, his words carried the weight of galactic history. "Your species stands at a crossroads," the High Counselor said. "Some of you chose violence and destruction, but others chose to protect the innocent. The galaxy will remember both choices." Ambassador Brooks worked to establish formal relations between the rebel human faction and the surviving Zalani, hoping to salvage something from the disaster. But the damage was done. The galaxy's peaceful species now viewed humanity as a threat that needed to be contained rather than welcomed. The final tragedy was that humanity's first contact with alien life could have led to a golden age of peace and prosperity. The Zalani had offered technology to solve Earth's problems, worlds for human colonization, and partnership in exploring the galaxy. Instead, fear and hatred had transformed humanity into the very monsters they had imagined aliens might be. Admiral Stone and his rogue fleet disappeared into the outer reaches of the galaxy, becoming space pirates who attacked any alien ships they encountered. They had embraced the path of destruction and would never return to peaceful civilization. The remaining human fleet, now under Captain Harrison's command, worked with the surviving Zalani to rebuild what had been destroyed. But the trust between species was broken, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. Dr. Cole's final report summarized the greatest tragedy in human history. "We met angels and called them demons. We were offered paradise and chose hell. The galaxy wanted to welcome us as partners, but we chose to become its greatest threat. Future generations will live with the consequences of our fear and hatred." The fleet that was supposed to protect humanity had become a fleet of destruction, and the scars would never heal.